Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Pagani Design PD-1696. This watch is available from paganidesign.cn for $140. It's also available from Pagani Design official store on AliExpress for €144. There is an AliExpress anniversary sale which starts on the 28th of March and the price will be discounted during the sale, so you may want to purchase the watch then. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the watch comes in this familiar black cardboard Pagani Design watch box. Although basic, it does suffice in protecting the watch in shipping. The watch sits on a piece of foam inside a foam cutout panel, as one would expect. So I think it's perfectly acceptable, bearing in mind that this is a low tier price point piece at only €144. With the watch, one gets this basic owner's instruction manual. Although basic, it does have clear, concise diagrams, and the instructions detail the operation of the movement used, which is the Seiko NH36 automatic. This is the plastic guarantee card that comes to the watch, and I'm pleased to report the PD-1696 comes with the usual 12-month international guarantee. And lastly, this is the branded microfiber polishing cloth that comes with the watch. I always think it's a nice touch to get a branded microfiber polishing cloth, irrespective of the price point of a piece. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Pagani Design PD-1696. The watch is clearly an homage to the Seiko Turtle, so very similar proportions. We have a 44.8mm diameter. We have a 47.5mm lug-to-lug measurement, a thickness of 14.2mm, and a lug width of 22mm. The bracelet tapers from 22mm at the lugs down to the 2-button push flip-lock clasp, and as you can see, the flip-lock is signed to high standard with the Pagani Design brand emblem engraved. Now, as always, I'm going to be critical of the flank of the 2-button push flip-lock clasp only having 3 micro adjustment holes. I would like to see 4 or 5 micro adjustment holes, because that would better allow for fine-tuning the length of the bracelet. There are no half links in the bracelet, and this is something I think Pagani Design could enhance the bracelet with, adding some half links, because that would make it easier to size the bracelet to get the perfect fit. The bracelet is well made, beautiful lustre to the top side and underside, which contrasts with the flawless mirror polishing to the flanks. The flip lock is well executed, and there's a good deep scallop underneath to get one's index fingernail underneath the flip lock to deploy it. Good frame resistance to the 2-button push triggers, and the interior is well finished. Solid milled 316L grade stainless steel, brush satin finish to the top side, underside and flanks. No sharp edges, no burrs, and the hinge pin is a good tight fit to the interior of the clasp. However, there is a negative to it. We have no diver's extension link. On the 1716, which I previously reviewed, which is the Black Bay 36 homage, that had an abhorrent stainless steel pressed diver's extension. But however, it was good to see some kind of diver's extension rather than no diver's extension. On the 1661, 1662 and 1644 respectively, they use solid milled stainless steel diver's extensions, which are like the Rolex EasyLink extension, and that allows for 5mm of on-the-fly adjustment. I would like to see that kind of solid milled stainless steel EasyLink style extension, or alternatively the pressed stainless steel diver's extension as per the 1716, rather than no on the fly adjustment, as you can see, because we only have 3 micro adjustment holes with no on the fly adjustment, so that's a negative that you may want to consider. Now, with regards to the case back, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, finished to a high standard, and we've got an engraved mirror polished turtle which fits the aesthetic of the piece because it's an homage to the Seiko Turtle. The specification is engraved to a high standard on the circumference, and the edge of the case back is mirror polished to a flawless finish. Relatively low profile, although we do have a raised circle in the centre section. The underside of the case is finished to a high standard, and the female pivoted end links are also finished to a good standard and a good tight fit to the tonneau case. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, the rest of it, we have a double dome sapphire crystal. Now, the negative is there is no AR coating on the underside of the double dome sapphire crystal, and it really would benefit from the use of anti-reflective coating, because when I tilt the piece at an oblique angle, you can see there is a lot of glare, and it is highly reflective due to the silver mirror polished applied indices and these silver mirror polished hands, as you can see. Now, I was critical of the proportions of the handset on the Pepsi version 1696, which I previously reviewed, and the same applies to this. The hands are undersized in proportion, they're too small, and also looking at the length, they're too short. If you look at the minute hand, it doesn't extend to the 60-minute ticks on the chapter ring, it should be longer. And if you look closely at the second hand, you can see the same applies, it's too short. The second hand and minute hand should reach to the 60-minute ticks on the chapter ring. The hour hand should also extend to the applied indices. So this is something Pagani Design should get correct. They should scale up the proportion of the hands and lengthen the minute and second hand to make them hit the 60-minute ticks on the chapter ring. They can get it correct. For example, on the 1716 I previously reviewed, which has snowflake hands, they are well proportioned in size, and also the length of the second and minute hand is correct because they extend out to the chapter ring as they should do. So it's a disappointment that on this piece they haven't made the hands the correct proportion. But having said that, I like the symmetry of the applied indices, and I like the fact they're not a direct clone or copy of the Seiko Turtle applied indices. They are slightly different in shape. The legibility is good. The white loom contrasts very well with a matte black dial. Now, with regards to the day-date complication, it's clearly legible. One can clearly read it's Friday the 11th. The day and date wheels are white with contrasting black Arabic numerals. One thing I like about the dial is it's not over-branded with unnecessary text and specification. We have just the right amount of information. Pagani Design in the brand emblem at 12, and then at 6 o'clock we have automatic divers 200 meters. So it looks right, and I think they've done a good job because they haven't added too much information to make it busy and cluttered. It's just the right amount of text on the dial. With regards to the bezel, it has a very aesthetically pleasing black ceramic bezel insert, and it's very well executed. The minute ticks and Arabic numerals are infilled to a high standard with white paint. Now this is something to note. The Pepsi version I previously reviewed had an aluminium bezel insert, but on this black ceramic version, it's made from ceramic, as you can see, which is more hard and scratch resistant than aluminium. Now one could argue the Pepsi bezel insert, which is aluminium, looks good because this is an homage to the Seiko Turtle, and the Seiko Turtle uses aluminium bezel inserts rather than ceramic. But however, I think they've done a better job on this ceramic bezel insert, because if you look closely at the fonts of the Arabic numerals, they look very similar to the Seiko Turtle font. So this is an homage to the Turtle, and I think this is a better looking ceramic bezel insert. On the Pepsi version, which I previously reviewed, with the aluminium bezel inserts, they've used a bolder font. The Arabic numerals look thicker and therefore slightly out of proportion. They don't look exactly the same as the Seiko Turtle. I think the font of the Arabic numerals on this ceramic bezel insert looks better, and they're still clearly legible. The white paint contrasts very well with the glossy black ceramic. With regards to the bezel itself, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, nailed finish to the teeth as per the Seiko Turtle. Very well finished, no sharp edges, no burrs, and I like the brushed satin finish, which gives the piece a tool watch aesthetic. So let's test the bezel execution. It feels even all the way through the 360 degrees of rotation. It's got a light resistance to it. It feels very similar in terms of resistance to the 1661, which you may be familiar with. It definitely feels lighter than a Seiko Turtle. No lateral side-side play whatsoever. However, we do have one click of back play. I'm just going to check it all the way around. One click of back play. One click of back play. And we have one click of back play. So that's a disappointment, and I experienced the same quality control issue with the Pepsi version I previously reviewed. That had no lateral side-to-side play either, but it did have a similar amount of back play, one click of back play. So this is something that Pagani Design needs to improve upon. I'll just check the alignment. Perfect. So on a positive note, the loom pip and triangle align correctly with the double applied indices at 12 o'clock. So no lateral side-to-side play, perfect alignment. The only negative they need to resolve is the one click of back play. And it's a shame because they are capable of doing it. I've previously reviewed 1661s with excellent bezel action, no lateral side-to-side play, no back play and perfect alignment. So they can do it. It's just a shame that they're not able to get the back play minimalised on this Turtle homage. So with regards to the crown, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, screw down crown, coin edge finished, and it's signed with the Pagani Design brand emblem, which is mirror polished to a high standard. The screw down crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters, which is very good. Let's test the action. Absolutely silky smooth. It feels exactly the same as the Pepsi version I previously reviewed. That also had a silky smooth crown. In the first position, it's the manual wind position, and one can manually wind the Seiko NH36 automatic to top it up to its maximum 41-hour power reserve. Absolute pleasure to manually wind it. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quick-set day-date complication. So if you rotate the crown clockwise, that advances the day complication, as you can see. Nice positive click, rotating the crown clockwise. Rotating the crown anti-clockwise advances the date complication, as you can see, and that also has a quick set. And it's an absolute pleasure, both clockwise and anti-clockwise, to change the date and the day. So Saturday is in blue and Sunday is in red, but the other days of the week are all in black, which contrasts very well with the white day and date wheel. So I really like it. So I like the action of the NH36. Pulling it out to the second click position is the time setting position. If you look closely at the second hand, you can see I've now stopped it dead. So one can stop the second hand dead to set the time precisely to the second. It has hacking. Absolutely silky smooth, no backplay whatsoever, both clockwise and anti-clockwise. Nice light resistance to the NH36, and it's an absolute pleasure to set the time. Pushing it back in restarts the movement, and let's test screwing it back down. Immediate thread pickup. So this is outstanding screw down crown execution, something I want to give due credit to Pagani Design for, because they consistently make very well executed screw down crowns. And I really like their crown execution. It feels smooth, but one can feel the friction of the rubber O-ring inside the screw down crown, and also the second rubber O-ring inside the crown tube, providing the hermetic seal to 200 meters. So very good quality screw down crown. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now I haven't sized the bracelet, I've simply taken the watch out of the watch box, and as you can see, this PD-1696 comes with a very long bracelet. This would actually fit up to a 9-inch wrist. I can easily slide my index finger underneath the bracelet and clasp with all the links in the bracelet, and that is moving the micro adjustment position to position 1, so I've shortened it to its minimum, and it still is a very long bracelet. So if you have a larger wrist of 8 inches, you'll have no problems whatsoever. As you can see, very aesthetically pleasing. It's a very comfortable piece to wear for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. Now, it's a relatively tall piece. 14.2 millimeters means it's going to be more difficult to slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. Really, I regard 13 millimeters to be the sweet spot. That is the perfect thickness for a dive piece, because 13 millimeters will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff. At 14.2, it's slightly more thicker and therefore difficult to slip underneath a shirt cuff. But however, the proportions are very good. 47.5mm lug-to-lug measurement is very close to perfection. It's very close to the sweet spot, which I consider to be 48mm, which is the perfect lug-to-lug measurement regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist respectively. Very well proportioned, good looking piece, and it also feels very well balanced because it has a 22mm lug width. The 22mm bracelet has a nice taper on it, and because it's 22mm, it distributes the weight of the head of the piece very well. The 22mm bracelet balances the 44.8mm diameter head of the tonneau case very well. Nice curved undercut to it means there's a nice snug fit to the wrist. It wraps around the wrist very well, and they've made the correct decision by using female pivoted end links rather than male, because as you can see, that allows for extra articulation on the end of the bracelet. It pulls the end link in the bracelet close to the wrist, and therefore there's no gap underneath the tonneau case. So very snug fit to the wrist, incredibly comfortable, feels very well balanced. Now, the only thing to note is it is a very heavy piece. It is 196 grams, but bear in mind the 196 grams is with all the links in the bracelet. You're going to remove 4 or even 5 links from the bracelet if you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist, and therefore that will significantly reduce the heft to circa 170 grams, which is more comfortable. But you may need to wear this piece on a rubber strap, NATO strap, as an alternative to the bracelet if you have a smaller 6 to 7 inch wrist. Really, this is best suited to a collector with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches due to being 44.8 by 47.5, and the bracelet does add significant heft to the piece. 196 grams really is uncomfortable, and really a dive piece should be circa 150 grams to be comfortable to wear for 8 to 12 hours per day. So it's a piece with a lot of heft. That's something you need to bear in mind, and it is a tall piece at 14.2 millimeters. Right, so let's do a loom test and we'll see how the loom performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge this up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged. Now, as you can see, initially it looks good. It's clearly C3 luminova rather than C3 superluminova, but initially it seems to be glowing brightly on the loom pip, on the ceramic bezel insert, the applied indices and also the hands. But however, one can see the hands are beginning to fade fast. Now, I previously reviewed the 1716, which is the Black Bay 36 Homage, and I was pleasantly surprised by the upgrade in the quality of the loom they're using. It's still not superluminova on the 1716, but however, the loom was definitely glowing brighter, and it continued to glow for a longer length of time than I've previously seen on other Pagani design watches. I would like to see Pagani design use the same quality of luminova on their turtle, this 1696, because it would really enhance the piece. Because if you look at the applied indices, the hands and the loom pip now, they are beginning to fade very quickly, and they will continue to fade to nothing fast. Now the colour match in terms of the green tone, the loom pip, the applied indices and the hands are all the same colour of loom, and this is something that Pagani designs sometimes get incorrect. They have a colour mismatch between the hands and the applied indices, but on this piece the green tone is the same. But if you look closely at the applied indices and the hands now, you can see particularly on the hands, they are fading very quickly. And this isn't as good as on the 1716 I previously reviewed. That had much higher quality. It was a higher grade of luminova used. So it's a curiosity why Pagani design aren't upgrading the quality of the loom on other models such as this 1696, because the 1716 loom was very good in comparison. And as you can see now, it's really fading fast. And this is a disappointment. I would describe the loom as okay performance, but it's definitely nothing like as good as the 1716, which was actually very good. Right, so let's discuss the movement used, because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. You'll all be familiar with the Seiko NH36 automatic. The NH36 is the same as the 4R36, which is used in the Seiko Turtle, which this is an homage to, and the 4R36 is also used in numerous other Seiko models, such as the Seiko 5KX and the Dress KX, which I've previously reviewed. So the NH36 is a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement with a day-date complication. The architecture of the NH36 is very similar to the NH35A, which you know very well, but it has the addition of a day complication, an extra day wheel added to it, rather than the NH35, which only has a date complication. But other than that, the movements are identical. 24 joules, it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. It has hand winding and hacking, which is useful complications. Now, the stated accuracy of the NH36 is -35 to +45 seconds per day, so a rather wide accuracy range. However, I'm pleased to report that this one has been well regulated, and it's running consistently at +8 seconds per day, which is very good for an NH36 and perfectly acceptable. 41-hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable, so it is the correct choice for an homage to the Seiko Turtle, because effectively it uses the same movement. This NH36 is exactly the same quality and exactly the same movement as the 4R36 used in the Seiko Turtle. So I really like it. It's one of my personal favourite movements, and it is good to have the day-date complication as well. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So this is €144, but as I've stated, there is an AliExpress anniversary sale which starts on the 28th of March, and that price will be discounted from €144. But I'm going to evaluate the piece based on the current price, which is €144. Yes, I consider it to be excellent quality, and yes, I consider it to be excellent value at €144. The specification is very strong. 200 meters is good, ceramic bezel insert and sapphire crystal. Now bear in mind, the Seiko Turtle is a significantly more expensive piece, but that only has an aluminium bezel insert, and that has a hardlex crystal which isn't as scratch resistant as the sapphire crystal. So the aluminium bezel insert on the Seiko Turtle is aluminium and therefore not as scratch resistant as this ceramic bezel insert, and also the sapphire crystal is more scratch resistant than hardlex. So The specification in that regard is actually stronger, but of course we don't have the quality of Seiko Lumabrite's loom, which is outstanding. The loom on this is weak, so one has to weigh up those positives and negatives. 200 meters is very good. The screw down crown execution is excellent. The bezel action is good with regards to no lateral side play and perfect alignment. It's just a shame it has that one click of back play, which is a negative. And as I've discussed, the clasp, although it's well executed, it's a shame there is no on-the-fly adjustment. We don't have any diver's extension link, and we only have 3 micro adjustment holes. But having said that, the solid milled interior is better than the Seiko Turtle, which has a pressed metal stainless steel clasp. So one could argue this is higher quality than the Seiko Turtle clasp, and it is better looking. A solid mill clasp is definitely better than pressed stainless steel. So these are the positives and negatives you have to weigh up. So overall, I would say yes, it is excellent quality, and yes, it is excellent value, despite the shortcomings. So I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money, and I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the the Pagani design PD-1696. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.